My question is to you, Commissioner Ciolo. How supportive is the EU agriculture policy to farmers in developing countries creating income? Income, for example, from plants that have been thoroughly researched, and the case in point obviously is Romania, which has been self-sufficient in soybeans, but today has to import soybeans, transgenic soybeans from Argentina and other parts. So Romanian farmers today cannot anymore export the surplus in soybeans, but they have to import it. And other countries, other developing countries, and once Kenya will be self-sufficient, they will rely on exports. How supportive is the EU policy?
I think in the case of two countries, I cannot have the same answer because it's two very different situations. Romania just became member of European Union and have to take into account the rules of European Union regarding the production of soybean, especially genetically modified soybean. We have some rules in European Union, and a new variety of genetically modified products have to be agreed before to introduce it in production, have to be agreed, taking into account the European procedures. Regarding Kenya or other countries, first of all, I think I have to underline the fact that we adapted these last years, decennies, we adopted several times common agricultural policy in order also to avoid that our development create problem to other countries to develop their own agriculture. And I think that with our system of support of farmers, we can say today that the common agricultural policy don't affect negatively other countries to develop their own agricultural policy or to develop their production. More specifically, regarding the research, the development policy of European Union regarding African countries support also research, innovation in the own specific issues in these countries. So part of our budget of development goes also into this direction. And not only regarding research and innovation, but also organization of producers. Because of the support of European Union, we have now in several regions of Africa producer organization at regional level. And I think it's a good start. It's not enough, but it's a good start in order to combine, as I mentioned, technical aspects regarding development of the production with organizational aspects and market organization. Because we need both of these. It's not enough to give inputs to this producer or to give money. We also need to give them instruments to manage this production and to transfer this production from the field to the market. And all these aspects are part of our priorities of development policy. As you maybe know, the priorities of development policy of European Commission, especially in Africa, is sustainable energy and sustainable agriculture and agri-food. And we are really in this line regarding our cooperation with Africa.
Excuse me, we have so many questions here on the list.
No, we don't make these choices transgenic or not transgenic. It's not I think it's not the only question. If we want to say that only with transgenic question we will solve the problem of food, I think it's not a real debate here. So I don't want to comment more on this.
Thank you. Der Kollege hinter Ihnen in der zweiten Reihe vorne.
Oui, bonjour, Valérie l'ICF, donc je suis rédacteur en chef de la revue Agriculteurs de France, qui est éditée par un think tank cousin de la DLG. Ma question s'adresse au commissaire Ciolo.
But my question is addressed at Minister Ciolo and the German Minister.
La recherche. Vous nous avez dit tout à l'heure dans le panel qu'une des priorités de la Commission européenne était la recherche.
Wir haben keinen deutschen Ton. Entschuldigung.
There is no French translation here.
Der deutsche Ton ist nicht da. Jetzt ist da. Danke. Bitte.
Donc, vous nous avez dit tout à l'heure dans le panel que
And now, once again, at the panel, you said that research was one of the priorities of the European Union. And everyone on the panel agrees, saying that agriculture production must be increased in a sustainable manner. Now, today, this week, we also had to listen to the public's opinion. This is what you said in one sentence. And this week we received a message which questioned this entire research activities. So we've got innovation and research in other countries. So my question is as follows. What do you intend to do vis-à-vis the public opinion? How would you like to make sure that the public opinion is in line with this type of research? Well, I'm not so sure if you can really reconcile the public opinion, or if you have to do this reconciliation between the public opinion and research activities. We are talking about the research of one company. Research and innovation are necessary to increase production. This is a very general discussion. We can have a public debate on it, something we maybe haven't quite done yet so far in Europe. And each and every company is then free to take their own decisions. I don't want to comment on this any further. I'm talking about public research. I'm talking about partnerships between public and private sector to increase investment into agriculture and in the implementation of this research. What we are lacking in Europe are certainly investments into research and innovation, but we shouldn't stop at this point. We need more than research, agricultural research, not only for major companies which are able to implement this research in its production. We also need to be sure to make sure that those who are involved in farming, who produce, can benefit from this research. They must be able to organize themselves, and they must be able to take these factors into consideration to solve this seeming contradiction, which is an increase of production, but also in a sustainable way. Research must become more democratic in agriculture. Research findings are a good thing, of course, but we need to be able to implement these findings. It is like a company. If you start with a raw material in a factory, you have to look at the final product to be certain that the production process was successful. And the same applies for research. We're not talking about the press article here. I believe research is concluded at the moment when you have a finished product in your hands at the end of the production chain. And you can see how this developed from a raw material. And this is what we want to do with our new approach. Minister Aigner, please, if you would like to take the floor. Well, I would like to express myself along the lines of Dacian and Ciolo. It is a decision of companies. We don't need to comment this from the political side, but with respect to food security, a lot of decisions are important. Access to land, for example, a proper structure, a harvesting structure. Only then do you need to bother about the question of which seeds you use. And that is why the structures we discussed in great detail today are among the most important things for me. In Germany, a lot of plant research is happening, all the way to smart breeding and other mechanisms. So a lot needs to be done here, certainly. Mr. Meyer from the German Press Agency, please. Right, one question regarding the role of export of industrialized countries. NGOs sometimes criticize imports at dumping prices, which are a problem to the producers in developing countries. General Director Da Silva, could you please comment on this? Do you share this criticism? And address to Minister Aigner, what is the role of the German export here in this area? Right, maybe I could start quickly. It is true, we have a strong economy, we have a strong food industry which exports a lot, but our main export markets are not developing countries which are trying to set up systems themselves. Our objectives are mostly European countries, all the way to Russia as well. After the charter we signed, we also said that we would not accept trade distorting measures any longer. And through Dacian Ciolos, we also said that we would no longer support export subsidies. They have no place in this day and age, but they play no actual role any longer, because we once were 10 billion back in 1992 in export subsidies. 1992 and 1993, we're currently standing at about 167 million or something along those lines for all 27 member states, so 67 million euros today. So this is really not the big question.
Well, I fully agree with this position. We should avoid all kind of subsidies for sports that impact markets, distortion markets. And this is, in my opinion, very important for developing countries, not only to give them the opportunity to build on their own food, working in their own land, producing their own security food system that they need, but also for those developing countries who have on exports of food commodities, distortion of those international markets act against them. So this is, I have already said otherwise, that this is an important step forward to bring transparency to the markets. Nowadays, we are looking for more and more transparency as a way to avoid volatility in these moments. And this is one measure that I believe that could contribute in that direction also.
Gerne, Herr Minister Suswono.
Ya, saya merasakan betul bahwa negara-negara berkembang ini memang banyak produk-produk pangan yang kemudian tidak bisa diekspor ke negara-negara.
I think it is indeed important for developing countries to be able to produce large amounts of agricultural products. And these products are sometimes then not exported to other developing countries. This has a great impact on the farmers in our country. So it would be important for industrialized countries not to protect themselves from exports of emerging countries. Too much protectionism makes it difficult for emerging and developing countries to find markets for agricultural products. Right, I would like to once again say the following point. We don't have any customs for these countries because we do not want them. So we've got this initiative in Europe. Maybe Dacian and Ciolos can give us more information on that. But European countries indeed buy a lot of products from emerging countries. Right, I would like to mention something that people aren't always aware of. The European Union is the region in the world which is more open than any other region for export products coming from southern countries. And to put it more precisely, even the European Union imports more than US, Canada, New Zealand and Australia from these regions combined. So we can have an agricultural policy in Europe that does not prevent other countries to play an active role on these markets. At the same time, the European Union also enables these countries to develop sustainably. One question to Ms. Kosgei. Your Chinese colleague this morning claimed that China did not do any land grabbing. Is this true? Does land grabbing happen in your country? What are the chances, the risks? How can you protect yourself against land grabbing?
Thank you very much. As I recall, I was asked that question last year during the panel. And the answer, as far as Kenya is concerned, is very simple. The answer is no. Kenyans themselves have a problem with the land as we have it, because, as I said, a great deal of the Kenyan land is arid or semi-arid. What we have in Kenya are people farming tea and coffee, and this business has started at the turn of the previous century. That is on lease now, and the people signed leases, but China does not farm in Kenya. If they farm in other African countries, it must be under well-considered policies in those other countries. But as far as Kenya is concerned, what we are trying to do is to invite all and sundry private sector people to work with the government of Kenya or private public sector coordination to try and develop the area around Lamu, which has two very good rivers, and we need people to produce food, whose first area of selling is within the country. That is what we must agree with them. So the answer is no.
Frau Bundesministerin.
I would like to add something which is quite important to me. At the global stage, it is very important for us to make progress together with the FAO by signing the voluntary guidelines on the access to land. We have played a very active role on this. The key are the countries themselves, of course, because they are the ones to be able to steer and decide whether land should be leased, sold, and so on. Investments for us, as a matter of principle, are positive because funding gets into countries that way, but this funding must be in line with the needs and requirements of the countries, of the people living in the country. So, Mr. Graziano da Silva, I hope that in March we can conclude this process by signing a joint FAO resolution. Thank you for your interest. Thank you, all participants at the panel, for taking your time. At 2:30, we have a picture up with all members, our so-called family picture at the Foreign Office, and then at 6:30, a final press statement with the Federal Minister. Thank you.